It's a critical alert. I'm your host, Steve Van Metre, and thanks for joining me today. In our lead story today, Bank of America just issued a dire warning to all its customers. We'll show you what the big bank's warning about, and no matter who you bank with, we'll show you why you need to take action now. Plus, we have some major news hitting the markets on Monday. We'll show you how investors can be impacted and why it could send stocks tumbling. Plus, we have a sponsor for today's show. I'd like to welcome Prevacutical Medical to the show. You can find them on the CSE under symbol PREV and on the OTCQB under symbol PRVCF. And they develop innovative options for preventative and curative therapies. And the reason you want to check them out is because they're in the early stages of a swing trade. Last week, we featured a company that was in the beginning stages, and in a matter of days, the stock surged over 60%. This is one you don't want to miss out on. Stay tuned to the end of the show or check out the pinned comment or description for more information, because this is our Sunday show, the show that makes you money, which is why we like to look at the technicals, momentum, and machine positioning each and every Sunday to help you make more money trading and investing. Now, let's head over to Bank of America Global Research, where we pick up the Global Fund Manager Survey, because once again, one of the storied investment analysts at Bank of America, one of their best guys, Michael Hartnett, is sounding the alarm again that this market could be at a peak. And he's given us the reason why as we take a look at the Global Fund Manager Survey that just saw the biggest jump in investor optimism since June of 20 on Fed cuts, China's stimulus, and soft landing. And this sent an allocation to stocks surging as bonds sink. And this triggered what is a massive sell signal as fund manager cash levels have fallen to 3.9% from 4.2%. But that's not the only news that's impacting the markets that we see this week, as the latest presidential election win probability tilts to favor to former President Trump. What we're seeing now is investors going all in on a potential Trump White House, and that's bringing money into the stocks in a big way. But again, Bank of America is warning here that when you see, of course, fund manager cash levels drop, it's actually a sell signal here. And you can see the monthly change in the net percentage of fund manager bond allocation just plummeted as money left the bond market and went right into the equity markets. Here you can see cash levels are down from 4.2 to 3.9%. And one thing we're looking at here is an all-in market. You see investors are all in on the retail side. You see fund managers are in. You see machine positioning is very long this market. And when everybody's all in one direction, well, you'll see what's coming Monday. It could send the markets tumbling. Here you can see that chart again, that when you see a huge drop in cash levels, what it suggests is fund managers are allocated on the wrong side of the market. And this triggered the first contrarian sell signal since June of 2024. But that's not it, because B of A is also flagging that their bull and bear indicator, which has dipped to 6.8 from 7.1 on worsening global stock index breadth, big emerging market equity flows, and investors adding via futures to 2-year long treasuries, is now getting closer to that 8.0 sell signal that they see coming in the next 3 to 4 weeks. And this requires a combination of a number of global equity indices trading at overbought rises from 20% to 80%. We're going to look at those technicals here in a bit. Emerging market inflows of greater than $2 billion into debt, greater than $20 billion to stocks. And here's one of them, the big one. Cash levels in B of A Global Fund Manager Survey declined from 3.9% to less than 3.8% in November. We know the odds of that are coming in a big way, because one thing we're seeing right now, again, is the odds of a potential return of former President Trump to the White House is sending mass amounts of money into the market. That means cash levels likely to drop by November. And here you can see that bull and bear indicator at 6.8, looking in an upward direction to get to that big sell signal. And so right now, what Bank of America is warning is that we could see a big plunge in the markets. But one way to turn the tides in your favor, check out the stock of our sponsor of today's show, Prevacutical Medical. You can find them on the CSE under symbol PREV and on the OTCQB under symbol PRVCF. Now keep in mind, the last time we had a swing trade on the show, the stock surged 61% in the days following. Here you can see it crosses this 9-day moving average here in gold. That is confirmed. And now the stock's heading higher It's happened not just once before. We'll show you at the end of the show. It's happened several times in the past, setting up a big opportunity for you. Now let's turn to Goldman Sachs, where we look at the tactical flow of funds report and some machine positioning, because they're saying right now the equity market itself is canceled and a year-end rally is starting to resonate with clients shifting from hedging from the left tail to the right tail. So what Bank of America is indicating is fund managers here are going all in. And what we see from Goldman Sachs is everyone else is piling into this market at a time we're going to see a huge shift by the end of the month. And what is that? Well, we know that companies are reporting earnings. And on Monday, we get the start of the biggest week in earnings. And that means 37% of all companies are expected to post earnings this next week. And a huge disappointment in earnings could send stocks plunging. That is the big red flag here. And this would be a tremendous opportunity, because you'd see that B of A bull and bear scenario get up to 8, flagging a sell signal. You've got the contrarian on the fund manager survey cash levels, and then you have some earnings miss, but that's still setting up a tremendous fourth quarter here and a dip that you would look to buy in a material way, because the buyback blackout window ends on October 25th. And what we're seeing right now is that corporates, being the largest buyer of U.S. equities, and they have the scope to add approximately $6 billion per day in terms of buying power. But keep in mind, scope doesn't mean they will. What it suggests is they've already have the authorization to do it. Will they dedicate the cash to it? Of course, we'll find out what happens during earnings seasons. But in terms of machine positioning, Goldman notes the machines here are very long the market. In fact, potential sellers, as we look at a flat tape over the next week, we say $7 billion to sell in global equities, $2 billion in the S&P 500. So unlike, of course, investors, and you see fund managers who are adding to the market, you see the machines have been in early and looking to sell. Of course, we'll show you how to take advantage of machine positioning. Over the next month, we see in flat tape, we see buyers. Over an up tape, we see buyers. But in a down tape, should we see that air pocket hit, a massive $163 billion to sell in global equities, $32 billion in the S&P 500, you can see the setup coming here. Again, as we look at that B of A bull and bear scenario, hitting that 8.0 level, we see fund manager cash continuing to drop, and then we see machines cued to sell in a big way. But let's take a look at our screens, because again, we love to look at the technicals, momentum, and machine positioning each and every Sunday. We've got some fantastic options for you, some great setups in the charts. Let's start out with the S&P 500. We see momentum here is positive with a relative strength index at 66. Now, when we talk about momentum, what we want to see is a relative strength index over 40 and rising. We see that happening here. It's not overbought. Now, remember, that's something that Michael Hardin said in his report we need to watch for. How about the moving average convergence divergence? This is another technical signal. We want to see a positive cross. We've got that. But what if you struggle trading these? Well, we have something called Momentum Timer Pro. And right now it has 28 consecutive daily buy signals. Well, we take the RSI, MACD, and other technical signals, we smooth them out with a proprietary overlay, and we run them over multiple instances. We have a daily count, a 1 month, 3 month, and 6 month window. And what do we see with momentum here? It is extremely stretched. And when that happens, you start to look for markets to fall in a big way, setting up potential opportunity for those who have cash on the sidelines. But what about machine positioning? Well, we model that as well. We show you how to beat that. Here we have our fast algorithm, our slow algorithm. They're maxed to the long side. But if you're looking to trade momentum or beat the machines, not only do we have all this data available for you, but we give you the trade signals. We even run a back test on our data to make this a big, huge win for you by giving you the highest probability trades. We give you all the information. You want to make more money trading and investing, be on the right side of the market. Check out the links in the description below. And while you're there, check out Prevacutical Medical on the CSE under symbol PREV and on the OTCQB under symbol PRVCF. Now, we don't have position on the S&P. We did get stopped out as this heads higher. What is the upside target? Well, we don't know because it's breaking out to the upside. But again, when everybody's in, markets tend to go the opposite direction. We've got our downside target at 562. Let's take a look at where we see the S&P going, and then we'll take a look at the NASDAQ. But this is a trend, and my friend, will you just follow the trend higher? And right now, it is going up. You may recall we did get stopped out previously, and given the high probability of an air pocket in October, we've kind of set this aside to see what happens before we look to add a position back here. And what do we see? It's just moving higher, and notably across the 50-day moving average in green, reconfirmed it up here, and sky's the limit for now. You see momentum not at overbought territory yet, but it is headed that way, and soon enough. Let's continue on to the NASDAQ 100. We've got the QQQ here, momentum positive. RSI at 62. MACD's got a negative cross. This is what makes trading technicals difficult. You get in late, out early. We smooth that all out with Momentum Timer Pro. We give you the high value trades to help you make a ton of money trading. And we look at machine positionings backed off a little bit here. It still remains fairly long on the Qs. Let's take a look at the chart setup, because this is sitting right back near all-time highs. And it's been very difficult because these big NASDAQ companies, they're the ones to watch during earnings because they buy a massive amount of their stock back. If there's any hint of danger in their earnings or any thought that they're going to cut back their authorizations, watch for these stocks to take a big hit. And this is the big red flag we're watching for in the market. We're looking for a return to the all-time highs here. Remember, in 5 days, authorizations are in the green and buybacks come back in a big way following into next week. Let's take a look at small caps here. You want to talk about the potential, of course, for the return to former President Trump to the White House. Well, this is how the market's voting. Remember, small caps took off when he took office before, and you see this is exactly what markets are expecting. Again, we have 6 consecutive daily buy signals on momentum. Even though the MACD here has got a little bit of a negative cross, investors aren't really worried about that. We pushed our upside target to 232.05. If that is after we hit our target of 224, we've moved our downside target up. But once again, we see momentum coming off a big, strong 1 month window, continuing to go higher. This is an all-in market everybody wants to be in, and that means it's setting up for something to go wrong in a big way. And you can see right here, every time it gets down in between these two purple bars right here, well, this is a supply zone where buyers are at, and it came down, pushed into the supply zone, buyers pushed it up, and held the 50-day moving average right here in green, and then took off. We have to zoom out here to around the 5-year chart, if you can imagine. Our upside target is back near, not the all-time high, but the recent high in the top end of the supply zone. That's what we're targeting, and that's where we see small caps moving next before a potential breakout. You can see, of course, momentum not near overbought territory, but pushing that way there. In fact, looking at MACD, it looks like I got a little bit off there. That is indeed a positive cross on the MACD. Let's take a look at bonds, because this is something Bank of America has been telling its clients. Hardin's been saying, go into the long bond, but they're not doing it. They're going into the equity market because, again, what we're seeing here is that investors are now pricing out into the soft landing scenario. There's no chance the market thinks there's going to be a hard landing. There's no chance they think anyone right now, really, but former President Trump comes back into the White House. What do you think? Who do you think's the big winner? And what do you think the market's going to do? Weigh in the comments below. Love to get your opinion, because we see right now, as we look at Metre, they run a fast algorithm on the bond market. And what do we see? Friday's close 112.19 on the 10-year, and you see selling under 111.55. So no chance we're seeing some selling from Metre. But let's take a look, because the technical setup here for the long bond is really quite impressive. We've got 21 consecutive daily sell signals. Now keep in mind, this is a trade we put on without stop losses, and we want to remind every investor, if you're not trading with stops, you should be trading with them. And what happens if you put a trade on and it goes the wrong way and you forgot to put a stop loss on? Just use the data, use the reports we have to dollar cost average back in. And right now we're only down 0.14% on that. RSI is coming off a deep oversold territory, as well as a MACD. And what do we see? A sell max with 21 consecutive daily sell signals. Now here's the power of this. You want to trade the long bond? You want to make a fortune trading the long bond? We will show you when to get in this. It's big because we've got full back tested data on every position we've got. So when this turns, we're going to flag it to our subscribers. You could be in on that. Here's the best part: 30-day free trial. Link in the description below. Again, check out Prevacutical Medical. We think there's a huge swing setup going on with them. And again, look at this from machine positioning. Backs short. This is everything we want to see for a big potential move in the bond market. Let's take a look at TLT here, because what do we see? It came right down to the zone of support. And this is something we've been watching. And look at the MACD and the RSI. Massive oversold territory here. You're seeing momentum bottom bottom out, start to turn higher, and this is going to set up a move from roughly right around 93.87 as of Friday's close, right up into these horizontal green bands, and then from there, a potential breakout on further Fed cuts. So it's a little far to zoom out. Let's go to the 2-year chart where we see the next destination for the long bond up here around 108.64. Again, you want to be countercyclical to the market. The long bond is your big trade right now, but we've got some more. Let's talk about gold miners because we put this out to our subscribers, not on, of course, the majors, but the juniors, and they're taking advantage of this and making a fortune. You can too. We see 6 consecutive daily buy signals on miners. This is looking to go higher, particularly as gold is pushing higher and higher levels. Investors are really bullish on gold. We knew miners were likely to follow us, and now they're moving. That's, again, one of the reasons we flagged this on a recent report for our subscribers. Let's take a look at GDX here, and what do we see? A huge move up on Friday. We've been saying where gold goes, the miners are going to follow, and this thing is looking to get back to all-time highs here. Let's go to the 10-year weekly. The high up here, 45.78. It's a little late maybe to chase this because you see this is making a huge move. Could it break out over all-time highs? Well, gold is. Miners might, but that is your risk to take. Again, you want to be in on these earlier as we now hit overbought territory. We gave this trade to our subscribers. Again, on the juniors, you're looking for another opportunity outside the bond market, maybe outside the U.S. equity market. We've been talking about commodities in a big way to our subscribers, and one of the places we're looking at is soybeans. Now, we did have a trade on this. We made some money. You remember that, and now we're seeing a potential setup to get back into this, coming in off of a buy minimum. Now, we got full back-tested data, so when this turns, we're going to tell our subscribers, here's the probability, and we're going to give you the highest probability trades for you to make money. What do we see here? Momentum negative. RSI is at 29. This is deep oversold territory. MACD is at a negative cross. 9 consecutive days of sell signals, and if you're a subscriber, keep in mind when this trade turns, we're going to let you know in a big way how you can take advantage of it. And something else we think you can take huge advantage of, and that is the stock for our sponsor for today's show, Prevacutical Medical. You can find them on the CSE under symbol PREV and on the OTCQB under symbol PRVCF, and they develop innovative options for preventive and curative therapies. All the information in the pinned comment and description below, because they're focused on utilizing nature and science for the benefit of health-conscious consumers. With its vested interest in the preventive health sector, Prevacutical, in collaboration with its partners, researches and developed innovative solutions that will provide customers with options for preventive and curative therapies. And on April 2024, the company entered a term sheet for a merger involving its diabetes and obesity assets with a newly formed private company. The agreement entails merging these assets in the newly formed company, which will aim to go public on a U.S. national exchange within 9 to 12 months. It will be initially funded with $250,000 to cover public listing expenses. Prevacutical will own 85% of the newly formed company, with 75% of those shares distributed to the company's shareholders. The merger includes plans to raise up to $3 million within 90 to 180 days, followed by a direct listing and additional capital raising efforts. Now let's talk about the headlines that's going to drive their stock higher as weight loss drugs forecast jump to $150 billion as supply grows, and rivals see room for treatments that are more convenient, offer better weight loss, or promise additional health benefits. Some seek to improve durability or quality of weight loss by distinguishing between fat and lean body mass, and one of those options is going to be from Prevacutical Medical, because they have dual gene therapy targeting type 2 diabetes and obesity, and they're targeting the overexpression of a gene that drives a manifestation of insulin resistance and accumulation of fatty acids. They're leveraging smart siRNA and a tissue-targeted bioresponsive carrier system. Prevacutical is generating convincing results in models of this disease. The program paves the way for preclinical evaluation of proprietary chemistry toward the single gene target implicated in the T2D and obesity, thereby reducing capacity to store fat, reversing obesity, fatty liver disease, and possibly curing disease rather than just managing it. And there's a total global health expenditure due to diabetes was estimated at $673 billion for 2015 and $802 billion for 2024, showing there's going to be massive amounts of money to be made in this space. And Prevaceutical's dual gene therapy program is designed to target siRNA to 3 of the most prominent tissues implicated in diabetes and obesity: liver, skeletal muscle, and adipose tissue, paving the way for preclinical safety and efficacy evaluation with a potential to sustainably restore the ability of tissues to handle and process glucose and lower the capacity of tissues to store fat. And the way it works is Prevaceuticals' gene silencing technology would effectively turn off the genetic signal, which leads to the overreduction of this key protein molecule, bringing it back down to safe, normalized levels that would help turn our cells to absorb glucose, thus reducing blood sugar levels and prevent the body from storing excessive fat from our diet. Thus, gene silencing does not represent a mere management for diabetes and obesity. It represents the potential for a bona fide cure, or in cases where patients have a predisposition to diabetes or in the pre-diabetes stage, it can be applied as a Prevacutical to halt progress to the full-blown disease. And something we see as a big opportunity as a stock, because we talk about what a swing trade is. This is when you see a close over the 9-day moving average, which is shown here in gold. And what happens is when a stock does that against a rising moving average, it usually goes higher. We see that going back here in the chart. It did that. It's been more than once. I'll show you some other setups here. And right now we're seeing the early stages of that swing building. We see it close over the 9-day looking to send this higher. Now remember, it doesn't have to stay over the 9-day moving average. That's ideal. But in case of Prevaceutical, it gets a little noisy, but the upside potential could be as much as 100%. We can see support here looking at the 90-day chart at 1 cent. We see it trading right around 1.3 cents as of the close on Friday. Let's zoom into the setup here because we see momentum rising across the MACD and the RSI. We see volume profile sitting right here on the 6-month chart, sitting at right around 1.7 cents. So you can see a breakout above that level will likely send the stock surging by what we see as much as 100% from its current level. And we look back to prior swings in the chart and you see it's very noisy, but the upside potential once it gets crossed over that 9-day moving average, when the moving average is rising, gives you a high probability of making money in the stock. And you can find Prevaceutical Medical on the CSE under symbol PREV and on the OTCQB under symbol PRVCF. But as always, with any company we feature on our show, you're under no obligation to purchase stock. Be sure to do your own research before placing any trades. And with that, I'm Steve Van Metre. Thanks for watching. Thanks for being fans. Bye now.